Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Tuesday afternoon. I am your neighborhood schlub, Bo Wolf, joined by runway Zach Berman. A big day for the Eagles, a day after the acquisition of Kevin Byard, Game 7 for the Phillies. We're going to talk to Brian Baldinger in just a few minutes about his thoughts on the trade, what's going on with the Eagles, how Lane Johnson played, what Sean Desai did to stifle the Dolphins. We're going to dive into Howie Roseman's trade history, a bit about roster construction for this Eagles team. Most of all, we just want to know how Zach Berman is doing. How are you, Zach?
I'm well. I think I saw that get up in this month's issue of GQ.
That's right.
Okay.
After yesterday's discussion, I had two ways to go today because you know that I needed to lead into the bit somehow. I could have shown up in a suit and gone like full, wear my very best outfit for you, or I could have leaned in the other direction, and I figured it would be funnier to just wear like the least fashionable thing that I own.
Well,
this is an Anthony Faust memorial T-shirt underneath. This is when we beat the Bronx School of Law and Government 40-0 in high school, and then this is obviously as chic as it gets.
I heard from our loyal audience who confirmed that I am more fashionable than you are. So there's a lot of things where you take the cake on me. I think this is one where I take the cake on you.
My only contention is that if I go to a store and there is a display of like really nice clothes, I don't think to myself, oh, what a well-dressed mannequin. It's the person who put the outfit together that is fashionable, not necessarily the person.
Okay. I mean, I also think that, as Jalen Hurts says, you can make anything look good, right? So
all right. Now he's saying he's better looking than me. I don't know about that.
I'll let the chat answer that one too.
All right. Let's bring in Brian Baldinger, who I probably think doesn't have a strong opinion on that topic, but may have some strong opinions on some other things. Baldy, how are you, first of all?
Hey, what do you say, guys? Bo, Zach, I'm doing great. I mean, I just studied the Monday Night Football game and did a bunch of shows around it. And so I'm just kind of looking ahead to week 8 already, I think. I think I got everything digested from last week.
It does go fast, the season, obviously, and we thank you for joining us, as always. Let's start with Kevin Byard and the acquisition of him from Howie Roseman. He makes another deal. What can you tell us, your thoughts on Kevin Byard? And having watched him this season, is he still playing at the sort of the same level that he had been playing for the past few years?
Bo, honestly, I've known Kevin Byard since he was at Middle Tennessee State. I've known the kid a long, long time. He's a Philadelphia guy. But I did some Middle Tennessee State games. The Blue Raiders, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I just, the guy had 18 interceptions in college in 4 years. And I think he was a third-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. But, he's got 27 career interceptions. But it's way more than that. Since he took over starting in 2017, he's never missed a start. It's every week, it's every game, it's every play. I mean, he's almost every snap for the last 8 years now. And, you always know him. He's always got the red sleeve on and the gloves, like in Tennessee. We'll see what he wears here in Philly. But he's just been the marquee player. Like, they've had a good front. Jeffrey Simmons is a great player. But, he's been their marquee player on a number 1 ranked defense 2 years ago. He's a phenomenal center fielder. Like, he's a reliable tackler. He's smart as hell. He's a great teammate. When you guys get to know him, he loves to talk the game. He's just how he could have – I know he's making phone calls to a lot of teams for different safeties and see who he could shake loose. The fact that Tennessee would let Kevin Byard go just has me scratching my head. There's things you could say, okay, contract, it's too heavy, all this, declining player. This guy is he'll in fact, they played Philadelphia last year, remember? It was around, the Eagles threw for 380 yards against them. It was horrible. But I remember talking to him on the field before the game, and I don't think he had an interception at that point, week 5 last year, something like that. And then he ended up getting 4 or 5 interceptions the rest of the year. You can't force it. And he knows that. So he's not going to go hunting for interceptions. When he's in the right place and he covers a lot of ground, he'll come up with big plays.
Baldy, I'm curious your perspective, both as a former player and someone who's around these guys all the time, in that we hear that it can be hard to make a team change midseason, to learn a system, to acclimate. What's your sense of how that transition goes? Is that overstated, or is that something to be mindful of here?
Well, you're talking about the addition of Byard and how he's
Going
going to
from
fit
one
in?
team to another midseason, learning a new system, trying to adjust to new teammates, trying to adjust to a new situation.
Well, I think this is a good situation for Kevin. I mean, the team in Tennessee right now, it's declining. I think that either Malik Willis or Will Levis is going to take over. I mean, it's a changing of the guard right now. And so I think it started really with the release of A.J. Brown, or the trade of A.J. Brown, I should say, last year. And they just haven't been able to put it together. But I think Kevin Byard, like, first of all, I think everybody would love to come home. Like, you've seen what it's done to DeAndre Swift. I think a lot of people would like to go home and finish your career. He's got a chance here. And he's going to a Super Bowl contending team. And while they've been a playoff team and they were the number one seed in the AFC 2 years ago, I mean, this is a golden opportunity for him. I think he'll walk into that room with Slay and Bradbury and, some of the veterans. And, like, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to take long for him to adjust or for the team to adjust to him. I think free safeties, like, there's only certain coverages, that you have to know. And, there might be different landmarks. But I think the communication will be real strong. I just think Kevin Byard walking in that locker room right now, Zach, like, everybody knows, like, maybe he's seen Julio last week. Maybe it did it for him or not. I don't know. But I think when he walks in that locker room, everybody knows who he is. You're a two-time All-Pro player. You walk in that locker room, like, they know what this is all about. It's loading up for January and February. And it's just a reminder of what's expected of this team right now.
It is also another week in which the state of the secondary changes, right? We have seen a different secondary every game this season for the Eagles. And I think for us, the story of the game on Sunday was what a job Sean Desai did in sort of flummoxing that Dolphins offense. After watching the film, what impressed you the most about the plan that he put together?
Well, even on the touchdown throw to Tyreek Hill with, I mean, they had bracket coverage on them. I mean, they were in the right place. They just didn't squeeze it hard enough, I mean, Edmonds was back there. Maybe that's why Edmonds is gone. But, Bradbury, I mean, they've got the right defense to bracket him. And Tua's looking right at him. And if they played it a little tighter, they'd probably keep Tyreek out of the end zone. But, the interception by Slay was just classic. Like, I think Waddle ran the wrong route, to be honest with you. I think he should have taken it to the post, and that would have taken Slay out. And maybe they got the wheel to Mostert behind it. But that was, that's the, I think, 28th interception for Slay now. Like, that's just a remarkable play. I hit him up on social media about it. Like, not everybody has the ability to go to that spot in a place where it's going to be 24-24. Like, Mostert's going to catch that ball in the corner right where he's supposed to be unless Slay makes that play. So I just thought it was really tight against a team that can air it out with the best of them. And it starts up front. Jalen Carter knocks out the left guard in the fourth play of the game. They got to go to the third left guard of the season. They got a lot weaker up front. They dominated the game up front. And when they fell behind and Tua had to kind of drop back and throw, it was they just kind of sat back and waited on it. They didn't get anything over their head.
At this time last week, we spent a good chunk of this conversation talking about Lane Johnson. As you predicted, he was out there, no injury designation. How do you think he played, and can you settle it for all the viewers? Is his sack streak still alive? Is that one on him, or was that on Sua?
Well, so, Zach, on the play, it's a jet protection, it's slide protection. So they've got a blitz coming. All right, David Long is coming off the slot, and Lane sees it, And really, it's Kelsey, it's Apetta, and it's Lane responsible for, Wilkins and Phillips and David Long. And so Lane steps out wide, and really, I mean, it's on Sue, and I'm not here to criticize him or anything. He's still a young player. But it's classic slide protection. They should just build a picket fence. And so what happened to Lane was when he saw Phillips, like, you feel it. You don't really see it. You feel it. Like, he's coming inside, and nobody's there. And so Lane immediately kind of like tried to cover for it because that's the most direct line to the quarterback there to try to slow him down and then get a piece of Long. And, the protection should have handled the pressure, and that should not be on Lane Johnson. If you want to give Lane Johnson, let him surrender a sack. Let somebody beat him. Let him beat him. Let somebody out there in this business beat him for a sack. But that's protection, jet protection, and that's not on Lane.
And how do you think he came out of that game, just generally?
I thought he played really well. In fact, I texted him. I thought he is he's blocking a lot better in the run game, I think. I thought he had a real good game overall. And then in the run game, even though they didn't run the ball great in the game, I thought his run blocking was really good. And I know he's worked real hard on his lower body strength, and you can see it. He's finishing runs. A lot of times he pulls off. He does, and I don't blame these tackles in this league. Like these referees see somebody go to the ground, they want to throw the flag, so he pulls off sometimes. But I think he's getting good movement at the point. And like Jalen Phillips is a handful. Like he's a good football player. He doesn't have the sack numbers right now that I think he will have at the end of the season. But that guy is a handful because he's got great movement. But I thought Lane played really well. And you couldn't tell that, he had a grade 1 ankle sprain or high ankle sprain, whatever they called it. But I thought he played through it real well.
Here's my sort of general question for you, Baldy. We're so insulated on the Eagles here, and we've been debating, how well they're playing over the first 8 games of the season, 7 games of the season. And we sit here now, we pull our heads up, and they're one of 2 teams who are 6-1 in the league. I'm curious what you think, having paid more attention to what's going on around the league. Do you feel like the Eagles are right now one of the 2 best teams in football? Yeah,
because I think they're just, it's just classic, Howie. But, they're just so strong in the trenches right now, their depth and how they rotate these defensive linemen right now. You've seen Sweat and Reddick just, looking like they did last year. The addition of Jalen Carter, you just can't talk about it enough. Forget about the sacks or tackles. That guy makes a difference. But, they're really deep up front. And then on the offensive line, look, you lose Lane Johnson in the game. You lose your right guard. Next guy step up. Like, I think they're just tremendous on both sides of the ball right there. That was the difference against the Dolphins. Physically, they beat them up pretty good. And so they just keep, they're waving linebackers through. You saw Nakobe Dean play pretty fast in there the other day. He's been out, but he made an impact. And then I don't know what Julio's going to do, guys. I really don't. I know he had the one catch the other day, but nobody has an answer for A.J. Brown in this business right now. And I thought the quarterback played outside of the fumble, and I thought he played pretty good.
If I can follow up on that, A.J. Brown's on this historic stretch right now, 5 consecutive games with 125 plus yards. What does the film show that is kind of differentiating him, other than just the outstanding size, the ability to make those yards after the catch?
Well, it's a couple things, Zach. He has great timing on the deep ball. Like, just the adjustment to the ball in the air. It's not everybody tracks a ball. Some guys were great baseball players and they know how to track a ball. We'll watch the Phillies tonight, cheer them on. We'll watch them in the outfield. But he tracks a deep ball really, really well. He uses his body really well. And he goes, like, these routes over the middle of the field, like his ability to stop, start, and get going in the other direction away from the defender is just elite. And I know he's worked hard on his speed, Zach, and his explosion. Like, that was his emphasis this offseason. And it shows up. It really does show up. In some fields you can see the rubber kicking up. You can see the dirt on a grass field. Maybe in Washington this weekend you'll see it. But you can just see, like, he's digging in. And, he can run every route. But his ability to track the deep ball is just as good as it gets.
Well, Baldy, we appreciate you stopping by once again and dropping some knowledge for us. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys. You bet, man. Enjoy it this weekend. Take care.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, Zach, before we get to the rest of the discussion, last week we talked about Baldy was your hero. I think he might be your hero again.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever look as good as Baldy, but
you're so fashionable.
But if I'm trying to do it, I know.
Let's be honest. Neither of us is fashionable.
You speak for yourself here. But the best bread for me to do it with would be Hero Bread, because Hero Bread is. It has so much of what you're looking for. You may not be counting carbs, but you may be looking to get more fiber or protein in your diet. And Hero Bread has the taste and the texture. It's soft and fluffy. It's delicious and tasty. It's flavorful. And when you hear those words, you're probably worried about the nutrition, right? But the nutritional interest is very high here. There's high fiber there's ultra low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar. So that's terrific. And there's fewer calories than the leading national brand, 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Right now, Hero Bread is offering the PHLY fam 10% off their first order. Just go to hero.co and use our code PHLY to save on Hero Bread today. That's HERO.co to save 10% today.
Well, Zach, tonight we've got Game 7. Nothing more intense, more nerve-wracking in sports than a Game 7. But if somehow you are like just an addict for needing something extra on top of that, what more could you add? What extra juice could you have than just a regular Game 7? Well, I don't know. You could put a little lettuce on the team or on something, you know? Maybe you're feeling very good about the Phillies' chances tonight, and if that were the case, you could use DraftKings Sportsbook, because with DraftKings Sportsbook, you won't miss a moment of the baseball action. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball. Plus, all customers can take a crack, see what they did there, at a sweet payday with DraftKings same-game parlays, string together multiple bets from a single game for your shot at a major payout. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code PHLY. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball, only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles in Louisiana. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See dkng.com/baseball for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
You nail that every time.
All right, Zach. Just like I nail my getting dressed in the morning.
Geez, you're really caught up on the fashion here. It gives you something to aspire for.
I do. Believe me, I am not aspiring to you in any way.
Wow. Okay.
Although I will say, I'm glad that Emily thinks you're more fashionable. It would be.
Yes. Yeah. She definitely does. The case. She heard the conversation, and I think she was a little taken aback that there was even a debate on that.
Okay. I mean, she should be partial. I agree. I'm glad for you. You're both wrong, but that's okay.
Okay.
You had a chance to talk to the coordinators today. What was the was the NovaCare complex abuzz after the acquisition of Kevin Byard?
No, because I don't believe he's here yet. From talking to Sean Desai, I don't think he's had a chance to kind of sit down with him yet. But certainly, Desai's excited about this, getting an established player like him, like Byard, in that secondary. It was interesting. I asked the question similar to, or I'm sorry, it was asked to him from someone else about adjusting mid-season here, trying to get him acclimated. And he referenced kind of what you referenced. He said it's no different than what they've done every week, right? I mean, they've had to get a new guy in there every week. So it's similar to that. And Desai talked about the way that the Eagles played, obviously, against the Dolphins, really focused on that run defense, earning the right to rush the quarterback, the way they played the run, complimented Hassan Reddick, talked about how Josh Sweat was such a force as a pass rusher against the run, chasing down screens. He made reference to that. He discussed the way they were able to limit the big plays, really focusing on playing their spots, right? That was the big point of emphasis, and we discussed that on yesterday's show, was getting to the spot on defense, knowing where those landmarks are. And then it was a chance to kind of allow the side to puff his chest a bit.
Did he?
He did not, but kind of, you know, he says he's trying to get better every day. He's a better coordinator. You know, I asked him how he's a better coordinator or different coordinator now than when he was in Chicago.
Sure.
And he said he's a better coordinator now than week 1. He's a better coordinator now than 2 weeks ago. He said he's very,
I feel like that speaks to you.
very much
That's
so.
very much. Let alone your-
yeah. I mean,
best story is the next one.
yeah. And every show, I'm in that car ride home thinking, what could I have done better? How could I have delivered that? There's certain ad reads I can deliver better. There's certain points I can make more succinct. There's times I can push back on you. There's times that I should just let you roll and keep going with yeah. So
And you know what? I now feel bad about the fashion thing because it feels like it's the only part of yourself that you don't worry about. You feel like you've already got this on lock. You're not looking to improve.
Between the two of us, yeah. I mean, that's like you having a height contest with me, right? Like, yeah, I would
Please get out of here. It's pathetic.
So Michael Clay, the Eagles.
Also, you can't say between the two of us on a show for people. Like,
no, I'm saying a fashion contest
I see
between
what
the
you're
two
saying.
of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying that like a fashion contest between the two of us
I'm not even trying.
would be like a height contest between the two of us, right?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it would be the winner of that is clear once we walk in the room. The winner of the fashion contest
Get
is
outta
clear
here.
once we walk into the room. I mean, I don't think you realize what you're wearing.
Zach, I told you at the top of the show, I'm wearing the least fashion. I'm trying. This is a joke. This is not.
I know.
This is a bit.
I know. So Michael Clay, the Eagles special teams coordinator, you might have noticed the short kicks in the game from both sides.
Yeah, what was that about?
It was the weather. They were not trying to do it. They were not trying to kick the ball short to the Dolphins, and then subsequently, he didn't think the Dolphins were trying to kick the ball short to them. All the kickoffs.
And that's the thing. There's a point in the season when football changes. The weather turns. Special teams is a little bit different.
He said that when you play in the Northeast. That's
Yeah.
But I actually didn't realize this until he said it. All the kickoffs went to the same side.
Oh, I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thinking back, they all were that bottom left of the screen.
Yeah, which is the side where the wind was kind of pushing the ball back. So that was the big takeaway from Michael Clay. Not a lot of questions for Michael Clay today.
You know what? It's a little bit unfair because Michael Clay gets hammered for the first 2 years when the special teams is bad, and now the special teams is one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
And nobody cares.
Well, that's not true. I wouldn't say nobody cares.
It's true.
I asked him a question today.
Yeah, you care, but there's no drum beat for like, oh, well, now they're good. Let's give Michael Clay his flowers.
Yeah, that is true. That's a good point. And he does deserve some flowers here.
I think so.
Yeah.
And now, like, the rankings are a little bit weighted by the fact that Jake Elliott has been so good, which is, we can debate whether what he has to do with that. But he's still dealing with a very young group of core players on special teams. It's not a lot of experience, and they are doing a very good job.
Yeah. And then Brian Johnson, he said he takes into account at all times kind of how Jalen is with Jalen's health. It's incumbent upon Jalen to kind of have that conversation. They have it on the sideline to see how he's feeling. He said it's obviously in the quarterback run game, but not just in the quarterback run game, kind of the way they tailor the offense. I asked him, I wanted to get some A.J. Brown color, and I asked what it was like being in Starkville, Mississippi, when A.J. Brown was there in high school.
Nice.
Brian Johnson
That's a question that nobody else would have asked.
Yeah, Brian Johnson was working at Mississippi State when A.J. Brown was literally 5 minutes away.
Right.
And
they couldn't keep him.
They couldn't keep him. And A.J. Brown Brian Johnson was the recruiter there.
Really?
Yeah. That's kind of why I asked.
Okay.
I know from talking to A.J. that Brian Johnson recruited him. And Brian Johnson said that, they knew all about him. He came to the facility. He came to the camp. He after a few routes in camp, they're like, "You're good, AJ. We know you're fine." He said the whole staff went over there to his house. What's that?
Johnny Holstaff. Go ahead.
The whole staff, 9 of them, went over to him to try to convince him to go. He lived 5 minutes away to go to Mississippi State, and then waiting outside was the Ole Miss staff too to come in. And he's like, so yeah, but I said, I'm trying to test your memory. And he said, he remembers this very well. Yeah. So.
And are you going to follow up with AJ about his recollection of that?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. I've already spoken to AJ about it some, but I'm going to follow up more now that I have some.
What an interesting
additional
thing.
color.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a good Zach Berman angle.
Yeah, I have a few things brewing with AJ that I'm excited to write at some point here.
Okay.
I have another story this week and then another story next week, but I have my sights set on a good AJ story.
I wonder if there are any other connections on the coaching staff where there's a guy who they tried to recruit coming out of high school.
Like Jalen?
Oh, that's another good one. Yeah. So maybe the story is Brian Johnson, better coordinator than recruiter.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Brian, why weren't you? Why are you here now?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't willing to pay enough to get these guys out of high school.
Or maybe they didn't want to go to Mississippi State.
Yeah, maybe
right?
so.
Jalen's case, yeah, I think that was the hindrance. I think Jalen wanted to go to Alabama. I once made the joke to Jalen, but he didn't laugh.
Yeah, he is not a fan of comedy.
I made the joke when he talked about Brian Johnson up recruiting him. Or no, I'm sorry. I made the joke to Jalen about A.J. Brown. Jalen tried recruiting A.J. Brown to Alabama,
okay,
as we know. And I'm like, it didn't work. And
he didn't like that?
He didn't like, yeah. He just kind of looked at me. And
yeah.
So
it's like when I tried to ask him about AJ, you're always talking about how you're best friends with AJ Brown. Like, does Devontae ever joke with you, like that he's jealous or something like that? He's like, no, we're stopping that right now. Don't even calm down. Like,
people on Reddit had fun with that question.
Everything doesn't have to be so serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get to Howie's trade history, Zach, let's use Game 7 one more time as a nice little transition to an ad read, and that would be Game Time. Because buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. They've got flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
What's your best Game 7 Phillies memory?
There isn't one. They have never played in one.
There you go. I like that. Good job.
I mean, I'm also watching the games, Zach. I'm also consuming Philadelphia sports media.
First Game 7 in Phillies history. Can you believe that?
I mean, I can believe it because I've had some time to digest it now. But, yeah.
What are your thoughts on tonight? You worried?
I think they're going to win, but I mean, if I was a Phillies fan, I would be worried. Yeah, it's Game 7. Anything can happen. Wild stuff.
That's true. How would you handle the pitching?
I don't know, but I thought they should have let Lorenzen pitch an extra inning or at least start another inning last night. You got enough innings to get through. I don't know if you needed to burn Kerkering there, although he didn't look great.
Would you go to Wheeler tonight?
Of course. Yeah, if the situation called for it, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I mean, who would you rather see in the 9th inning, Zach Wheeler or Craig Kimbrell?
Well, Zach Wheeler.
I mean, you've got Alvarado and Dominguez too, but
it reminds me. I always think about the 2001 World Series, Diamondbacks, Yankees.
Of course,
when they brought in the aces out of the pen.
Yeah, I remember I was watching at Tyler Watson's house.
Awesome. I hope Tyler Watson's watching us right now.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I doubt it. How about you? Where were you watching it?
At home. I wasn't at Tyler Watson's house.
With all the Berman brothers.
Yes, I remember I was rooting for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, so was I.
As a New Yorker. Well, you're a Mets fan.
Yeah, I didn't like the Yankees.
Yeah. Okay.
I used to be a Mets fan. I'm no longer a Mets fan.
No longer, yes.
Okay. Howie Roseman.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stop laughing during that ad read because I was thinking about you saying, "Do you know what you're wearing right now?" Like I know what I'm wearing. That's the bit. This is not a comparison.
I'm aware of the bit. I was leaning into the bit. Okay, you're not the only one who's in on the joke, Bo.
Okay, that's good. Do I think I keep this going? Do I keep coming in with really bad outfits, or do we
As
flip
opposed
it back
to
to
all the
normal?
other days when you're in those great outfits.
That's good.
Fan of comedy.
That's good. That's your first good joke. All right. We wanted to go through like the history of Howie Roseman in season trades. Now we know that he's made some big trades in the offseason, but just in terms of seeing the way that he has evolved in this sense, should we start from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay, 2009, Zach, and let's give these. What scale should we use?
Let's go on a scale of Avery to Ajayi. Well, we're talking about them, so we can.
Is Avery in? I thought Avery. Oh, Avery was. I don't
Avery
even have him
wasn't.
on here. That's
okay. That was the 2000.
We're missing one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're scale of.
No, let's see. It's got to be a different scale than that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. How about from? I don't know. I got nothing. How about from 6 to 9? I don't know. I got nothing.
No, let's come up with what's the best trade? What's the best non-Eagles trade?
Ooh, non-Eagles trade. The best non-Eagles trade I can think of. I don't know.
Okay, so
Brandon Marsh for Logan O'Hop.
All right,
which distracted you from the show we were doing at the time.
You were so offended by that. Yeah. No, let's go on general manager scale. How about that?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, the best GM. So who do you think? Let's take Howie out of
let's say Theo Epstein.
Yes.
To
Matt. It's a Matt Millen.
Matt Millen.
Okay.
Well, I mean that's punching down at this point. Who was the Fred? Was that his name? Who was the Mets guy who made the Fred something? I don't know. Wow, this is good content. We've really just stalled.
All right, let's just say good trade to bad trade.
Let's just go straight letter grade.
Letter grade. Okay. We settled on that at the end.
You're a professor.
How about this? No, I have a good idea. Okay. Let's do it Bo's fashion to Zach's fashion. Okay.
It doesn't make.
I thought that was the theme of the show.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not good.
Okay.
They're
All
both bad.
Straight letter grade.
Okay. 2009, Zach. The Eagles trade Brandon Gibson and a 5th-round pick for a linebacker, Will Witherspoon, who comes in with a bang. Has a huge game his first night. This is before your time on the beat.
Yeah, this was before Howie's time too.
No, this is his first year.
2010 was his first year.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
But isn't he? I guess you're right. Okay. 2010. Mike Bell for Jerome Harrison. One of the best trades ever made, honestly.
Well, didn't it help save Mike Bell's life?
No.
Okay.
That was the second time they traded Jerome Harrison.
Okay. Gotcha.
This was a straight 1-for-1. This is an A+ trade. That's one of Howie's best trades. Same position, and they just got a guy who was way better.
Yeah, Jerome Harrison. He had a good game against Detroit. So let's give this a B+.
I give it an A.
You give it an A.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. A B+ for you. He doesn't make another in-season trade until 2013, Zach. And this is, he trades Isaac Sopoaga and a 6th-round pick to the Patriots for a 5th-round pick.
So this I'm giving an A- because they traded the better player, or I'm sorry, by trading him, they opened up a spot for Benny Logan, who was the better player than Sopoaga.
You're giving an A- for just swapping a 5th for a 6th?
Well, because it opened up playing time too for Benny Logan.
I think the whole thing was that Sopoaga was making trouble behind the scenes. Isn't that the story?
Well, no, he was blocking Benny Logan.
I think there was something else to this where it was
okay. You think Isaac was bad?
Was a malcontent at the time.
Gotcha.
Remember he came in, he gave like a Philly, thank you for choosing me. Good interview with me, but that was about it.
Okay.
And I think this was an admission of a bad signing is what this was.
So then let's knock it down to a B.
Yeah, to me this is like just something they had to do to get the guy out of the building. That's a C for me.
Okay.
But you're sticking to a B?
Yeah, it opened up for Benny Logan.
Okay. 2017, they trade in 4th-round pick for Jay Ajayi. Where were you?
Where was I when that happened? That was on Halloween. and I was preparing for a Halloween party with my son, who was a few months old at that point. So I remember that vividly. We were going somewhere. It was like
What was he being?
It was well, no, it was like the other moms
Okay.
from Emily's group, and I was very frantically trying to write about Jay Ajayi, and was probably nervous at that party that I was missing something with Jay Ajayi, and looking at my phone a little more than I had to. And then I remember I was trying to track down Jay Ajayi's brother, who played at Liberty at the time. So
Okay.
that's what I was doing, because I did a big feature that weekend on Jay Ajayi.
Okay, and Jay Ajayi, of course, becomes a big part of the Super Bowl winning team. What would you give that trade? A?
Yes, they won a Super Bowl. Jay Ajayi was a big part of it. Does that mean that
every move that they made that?
No, but Jay Ajayi was a big part of it, and I don't know if I think he bolstered them during that stretch run. He had a few great games late in the season. He was real productive for them in the playoffs. So yeah, now I'll probably knock it down to an A-, because the A-, they were hoping he was going to be their starting running back the following year, and then he got hurt in that Tampa Bay game in week 2, I believe it was, and never played again. He returned at one point the following season, right? They signed him later on.
Yes.
But I think that I look at it as an A- because it didn't have the long-term implications that they wanted, but certainly in the A range because they won a Super Bowl.
How old do you think Jay Ajayi is today?
29.
He's 30.
Okay.
Just a crazy example of the longevity of that position versus like the Eagles just traded for Kevin Byard, who's the same age.
Don't raise your kids to play running backs. Yeah. Well, he was injured, so.
Well, yeah, but in part because he's a running back.
In large part because he was a running back.
Okay. Yeah, I'd give it an A-. I think that's the right grade. And listen, this is the beginning of Howie leaning into the in-season trades, because we talked about he had made one trade in 2010, one trade in 2013, and from this point on, he makes a trade every single year except for 2020 when they weren't really making trades.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he liked what he did in 2017, and he tried to replicate it thereafter.
2018, of course, we all remember the Golden Tate trade, a third-round pick to the Lions for Golden Tate. I'm going to go ahead and give that a D.
So, do you remember that game in Chicago?
I sure do.
Was it Al Michaels or was it?
I don't think Al Michaels was in coverage.
No, I think it was Chris Collinsworth who said,
"Yeah, this makes the trade worth it.
This makes the trade all worth it."
Yeah.
Yes. I'm giving that a C+.
Okay. I think that was an example of, and I think this is to Howie's credit, and it's a thing that he talks about, is that even if they think they have just a little bit of a chance, he's always going to try to push his chips in. It's about winning now. I think that's a great thing to have in the general manager of the team that you're rooting for. But I think that this was a short-sighted team move from the big picture perspective, because he wasn't playing at that high of a level. He didn't integrate that quickly, and they were definitely losing him after the season. Yeah,
he really didn't fit. That was part of the problem with Tate, because by playing Tate, you lost some effectiveness from Nelson Aguilar. Right? Nelson was really good in the slot, and that's where Tate played best. So that was more of a name trade that didn't work out. But Golden Tate did catch that touchdown against Chicago, a big catch for the Eagles. I just and they did get a comp pick. The Giants gave a horrible contract to Tate.
Yeah, they did.
But yeah, I can't give that above a C+. Now I know you were in Europe when that happened.
I was, yeah. I was. Me and Jeff McLean were vacationing together in Paris after the Eagles played in London.
Sounds like a fun vacation.
Just me and Jeff.
I imagine other people were there
cafe
too.
hopping. Yep.
I was promoting a book that had just come out.
And what was the name of that book?
Underdogs, the Philadelphia Eagles' emotional road to Super Bowl victory, where you can read a full chapter on Jay Ajayi and the trade and all that goes into Howie Roseman's trading, actually.
And where could one purchase said book?
Wherever books are sold.
Great. And if somebody was so smitten with the quality writing and the in-depth reporting in that book that they were like, I can't get enough of this guy. Can I read more books from this person? What would your advice to them be?
I would say, even if you don't feel that way, make sure you go to allphly.com, because on allphly.com, you can find comprehensive coverage of the Eagles and all Philly sports teams. I read a great piece by Charlie O'Connor over the weekend. And you can become a diehard member to read exclusive content. And shout out to Bo Wolf here. The most popular story on allphly.com since it opened on September 11th was the piece you wrote last week. And I look forward to more Wolf Stens as time goes on.
Yeah, but what if I like the feel of the page in my hand? What if I want a book? I want to really extend and read something long. Stay tuned, maybe.
Oh, is it for the book I'm writing?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought there was an ad you wanted me to read.
No.
I was like, do you want me to mention Kindle Builder here? I wasn't sure where you were going. Yes.
No, I want you to puff your chest out.
No, I have a book that I am in the process of finishing that will be available next year. We'll have more details on that in the coming months. But I appreciate that. I thought you were like, I would love if there's a bookstore or a book company that wants to advertise with us. I will give you the best endorsements you can get. I was wondering what you were referring to, but yeah, I have a book coming out next year.
Okay, in 2019, Zach, Howie Roseman trades a 4th-round pick to the Cleveland Browns for Jannard Avery.
Yeah, that was an F.
Wow.
That was an F. 4th-round pick they could have used.
I mean, the idea was that they had a specific role that they thought that he could fill, but I think, and let me ask you this. You know, Howie Roseman would not say that was a good trade. What do you think is the lesson he learned from that trade?
It's a good question. I'm trying to think what lesson he would learn from that trade is. I think that you need some more established product, or I think you need to live with an exception first, probably. Might be the.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, that because Jannard Avery, there were tools that they thought they could develop, but he was an exception in terms of kind of like the height, weight, speed.
Right.
And if you're going to, I have no problem with like drafting an exception at some point or developing one. But if you're giving up a 4th-round pick in a trade, you need to be more. He needs to be like Elvis Dumervil. You need to be more convinced that he has that in him than Jannard Avery did.
I think my lesson from that trade is we always try to frame it this way in a trade, right? Is why is the other team giving that guy up?
Good point.
Right, and we talked about this in the A.J. Brown trade, and if you can, it was a very obvious thing for A.J. Brown. Like, they didn't want to pay him that contract. That's the reason that he's available. With Jannard Avery, it's like, this is a guy who was really productive as a rookie, as a pass rusher. This is his 2nd year or 3rd year. Like, this is a young player at a premium position for a team that needs young players.
Good point.
Why are they willing to give him up? Like,
that's a much better lesson than the one I said. Yes. And I do think that if a team...
I kind of like your lesson too, though. But
no, but if a team's trading a guy because of money, I think that's a good reason.
Right. We can all understand why the Titans would be trading Kevin Byard.
Exactly.
But yeah, why is a team trading a young pass rusher?
Yeah. Like the Lions traded Darius Slay ostensibly because of money, right? So I know there were other complications there too. But yeah, if you have a guy on a rookie contract, you're not gonna you know less about him than the team that has him in the building.
Sure, yeah.
Like it's different if it's Jalen Ramsey or Minkah Fitzpatrick, but yeah.
Now that lesson maybe not immediately learned because in 2021 they trade a 6th-round pick for Kerry Vincent. You know, a meager price.
You hated this trade.
I did hate this trade.
So I'll let you give your grade first.
Well, I think that I actually don't give that grade an F because it was very clear that they were doing something and trying to add all of these young corners and throw darts at the dartboard and hope that one of them stuck. So I understood the thought process behind it. I just thought, this is a guy who was drafted in the 7th round, had not been active yet. They'd never seen him play. They had just seen him in the preseason, and they gave up a 6th-round pick for one fewer year of him. Didn't really make much sense to me.
I think they were caught up on this idea of trying to just collect corners and hope that one of them hits. that was the year too, and we're probably getting to it.
I would only give it a C-, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll give that a D+. He didn't make the team the following year. He didn't really contribute for
Okay.
that.
Same year, they trade Zach Ertz to the Cardinals for a fifth and Tay Gowan.
Yeah, I was fine with that trade. I mean, Tay Gowan.
I was fine with it too.
Tay Gowan didn't turn into anything that they had hoped he would be, but it's worth a shot. I mean, a 5th-round pick for Ertz, who was not going to be on the team the following year. My only knock on that deal is I think they could have gotten more that offseason. I think their price was a little too high that offseason, and they ended up trading him for a 5th and Gowan. Maybe there was somewhere in the middle of what they were trying to get and that 5th and Gowan, and they could have made that deal in the summer or the spring, and you would have avoided kind of a weird training camp for Ertz, and you probably would have allowed Ertz to leave in a better manner. Then again, Ertz
got a touchdown.
Ertz was happy with that last game, caught a touchdown, got to say goodbye to Philly. And, one thing Zach Ertz did say after that is the 2020 season, there were no fans in the stands. He really didn't get to say goodbye. So the fact that he came back for that first part of 2021 allowed him to do it.
We've talked about this before, but I do think about like the Zach Ertz perspective on everything that happened since this trade. Like the Eagles became a very good team, and he's got to just sort of sit back and watch as they go to the Super Bowl and they're 6-1, and he's playing for a bad Cardinals team.
And he just got put on IR today, actually.
Did he? I didn't see that.
He would have been part of the core 5.
Yeah.
I mean,
he probably wouldn't.
It didn't have
been,
the same.
yeah.
It didn't have the same ring to it.
The
core
thriving
5.
Yeah,
thriving 5. I like that.
Okay.
And you ask Jason Kelsey, and he would say, "Is that just a name for old people?"
Right. Last one that year, they trade away Joe Flacco for a conditional 6th, which I think just turned into a 7th.
Yeah, that one I'll give them, give them a B+ for
Although
that.
Again, admission of a bad signing to begin with.
I know where I was for that one too.
When they made the trade?
Yes.
I certainly do not.
I was in Vegas. We talked about this actually on a show recently. I was taking the red eye. I was taking the Monday red eye to try to save the company some money.
Yeah.
And
you spent the day in the casino.
Had to burn the day in Vegas, and then they make this deal. And I had to find a place to do the conference call and ask those questions. And then they added Reed Sinnett thereafter.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. 2022, Zach, we all remember last year, they send a 4th-round pick to the Chicago Bears for Bobby Q, Robert Quinn.
D+.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it. You got to grade it at what it looked like at the time. I understood what they were doing. Derek Barnett had gone on injured reserve. They needed a 4th edge rusher.
Yeah, I'm talking about hindsight.
It made sense. However, there were his production had totally dropped off a cliff. He completely. He was good the year before, and it turned out that he was just done. I think it was you understood the thought process behind it, but looking back, certainly if you're giving up a 4th-round pick, you would have liked to get any production at all. Yeah,
I gave it high marks last year, and I was wrong. So at the time, I liked the deal. It didn't work out. By the way, I was going to text you this yesterday. Kevin Byard has the reverse Robert Quinn going. So you spoke to Robert Quinn last year about how he didn't get a bye week.
Yes.
Okay. He had to do a full 17-game season because he got traded after the Eagles bye and before the Bears bye.
He ended up going on injured reserve. But yes.
Kevin Byard has the opposite.
Double bye.
He got this past weekend, gets the chill.
That's great.
This past week, plays 2 games, and then gets another bye week.
That's pretty good.
Yes. And he gets paid for both those buys.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like getting an extra week vacation.
Somebody made the other point that he missed the opportunity to play in the Kelly Greens, and also the Titans, I think, next week are doing their throwbacks, but he'll get another Kelly Green game.
Yeah, there's another Kelly Green in there.
So he'll be fine.
I think the Buffalo game's Kelly Green.
I believe that's right. That's nice. Good for Kelly. So he can get another full season, but only have to play 15 games.
Yes, exactly.
That's pretty good. Which brings us to the Byard trade. Now, having just discussed the Robert Quinn trade, let me tell you that Kevin Byard doesn't have any passes defensed this year, doesn't have any interceptions, has not been as much of a playmaker on the ball through 6 games as he was over the course of his career. Are you at all worried that this is a Robert Quinn situation where the guy has fallen off the cliff?
It's something you need to be cognizant of. I don't think the compensation is prohibitive.
I agree.
It wasn't prohibitive in the Quinn deal, but a fifth and a sixth in Edmonds, it's a worthwhile risk to take. I think this is a bigger need for them than edge rusher was last year. This is someone who's going to ostensibly play every snap. I think that now I would have said the demonstrated ability to get to the quarterback would have made me confident in Quinn, but these ball hawking numbers are hard to ignore. So I hear what you're saying. I don't feel the same way though or I don't think this deal is going to have the same outcome that one did.
Yeah, and I think the situations are different.
Yeah.
As you said, the price is different too. I think it's possible that this trade doesn't turn out great. No, of course, that's possible.
Sure.
You know, he could not be good. It could be a bad situation for him, and you know they'll cut bait in the offseason. But given the dire need at the top of the depth chart and what else is going on there and the demonstrated history, I think it's a swing that is hard to argue with.
Yes. Since he came into the league, Justin Simmons and Xavier Howard are the only two players who have more interceptions than him.
Right.
He is, you mentioned on yesterday's show, since 2017.
Which is his second year. He's
exactly.
one behind Xavier Howard, yeah.
He is, like Baldy said before, I'm nodding to it like Baldy's still on the screen. Baldy's not on the screen anymore.
I like to think that he's just perpetually on the screen. We have a wired-in camera to his little studio. It's just that he only pops up once a week. Something he lives in the screen.
Yeah, something that what Baldy said, and I've heard this elsewhere, is like an awesome locker room guy, the type of guy that you're gonna want to have in the building.
It feels like Baldy knows everybody.
Everyone from Philly, which is I'm kind of jealous of him. Right? Yeah. Yeah, Baldy does know. Baldy is he's well respected.
That's plugged in.
Exactly. I like that. So that part of it you like. He has a lot of versatility. That's something Sean Desai said today, is that he's played a lot of different roles, which you like to see. Now, I don't think you're looking at Kevin Byard in the slot at this point in his career, but I think the fact that he can play deep safety for you, he can play some box safety, like he has that versatility, which is a good thing. 30 years old, you have to be cognizant of. You mentioned yesterday they have this old secondary: Slay, Bradbury, Byard, and then when Bradley Roby's in there, they have 4 guys over the age of 30, or 30 and over rather. But I think this is a trade, like Baldy said, for January and February, and I think I'm fine with that.
How many turkeys would you put on Kevin Byard being on the Eagles next season?
Not at $14 million.
Certainly not.
Yeah. I would say 35, 40.
Okay. Because in theory, you have Blankenship and Brown penciled in as your starters moving forward. You know, Blankenship has to prove he can stay healthy. Sidney Brown has to prove that he can be something.
Play, exactly.
It's a good backup possibility to have. Yeah, I think I might eke it. I mean, this is very inconsequential. I might say like 40, 45, but yeah, I would say sub 50. Okay.
I saw a cool clip from Adam Lefkoe that I tweeted out.
Great clip.
Where he was talking about Byard in that game down in Tennessee, which was 2018, I believe it was. And he said that his family was all there and they were all wearing Eagles jerseys, talking trash to the Titans fans.
I thought that was great.
Yeah. So I think he'll be a fan favorite here if he can play well.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about, Zach, and before we get to the ad read, is just the roster construction here. How many of the Eagles starters, and there are a couple positions where we could argue about who's the starters, would you guess were acquired via trade?
Ooh, how many starters? So I'm not going to go through it because that would be bad podcasting.
I've got the list here, so we don't have to go through. Yeah, but I'll tell you.
I'm saying I'm going to guess 6.
4.
4, okay.
So you've got DeAndre Swift, A.J. Brown, Kevin Byard, and Darius Slay.
Okay.
Right?
Correct.
The roster construction, this is just the key players on the team. 4 via trade, 3 to 6 from free agency, which is pretty small, actually. And that's counting, do we decide it's Nicholas Morrow or Zach Cunningham, those guys. 1, 2, 3 from undrafted free agency, 1 7th-round pick, 2 6th-round picks, 0 5th-round picks, 2 4th-round picks, 3 3rd-round picks, 4 2nd-round picks, 8 first-round picks. And those are guys just drafted by the team. The one that's wild, and I know we talk about this all the time, but the top 9 guys on the defensive line, the guys who play, 6 of those 9 guys were drafted by the team as first-round picks.
Money well,
It's
I'd
wild.
say picks well spent.
And then there's a third, a fourth, and Hassan Reddick, who they gave a ton of money to. Like, that's why they're so good.
And that's what Baldy said. They've built this team through the trenches. There's a reason why it's like the same exercise every single draft. I shouldn't say every single draft. Most of these drafts. Are they going to take this linebacker? Are they going to take this running back? And we say, no, they're going to take a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman.
Right.
Right? And I know there are years when they've taken a receiver. They've looked at a corner. But
corner is the interesting one because I was having this discussion the other day. Corner is the one where I don't think that the history necessarily tells the story of their prioritization of the position.
That's
right?
true.
This year, I think they would have been willing to take a corner. Last year, I think they would have been willing to move up for Sauce Gardner or Derek Stingley. The year before, I think they would have been willing to take Surtain or J.C. Horn if one of those guys had been on the board. They value that position as one of the key positions. It's why they were traded for Darius Slay. It's why they paid James Bradbury. It's also why they, like, when they weren't able to draft a guy, they tried to throw those dart throws at all those young corners. And so other than the way that has played out, I think the draft history does tell the story.
Yeah, and so every year it's like, are they going to take this running back? Are they going to take this linebacker? Are they going to take this safety? No, they're going to take a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season. Overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHLY for 10% off. All right, Zach, let's look back quickly at Goose Wisely and our roster drafts from last week. Goose Wisely, if I can pull it up here, I've got the display. Let me see here. Let me pull up Deniz, go to his media, so I can have the whole thing in front of me.
Professor Selman.
Absolutely. Okay, first one. You had the broadcast will have some sort of retro element. I'm going to give you this, Zach, because they had the retro logo on the score bug, which they didn't necessarily have to do.
That? Okay.
Yeah. So I actually think that counts.
I like Generous Bo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you deserve that one.
Thank
it's
you.
not exactly what I had in mind,
Yeah.
but they did it, and I didn't discount it, so I think that's fair. I had more than one of the Eagles will introduce themselves as from Stoutland University on the broadcast. I was hoping Sua would do it. He did not. I was actually kind of hoping Kelsey might do it too, but no, it was just Jordan Mailata. It didn't happen, so 1-0 you.
And what did Kelsey say?
He said, I think he just said Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Okay.
Yeah. You had your golden goose, or maybe I had my golden goose. No, you had your golden goose on this. You had there are more total touchdowns in this game than total runs in NLCS Game 5. Do you know how many touchdowns were scored in the game?
There were six touchdowns
in the game. There were 7 runs scored in Game 5. Okay. I had there are fewer touchdowns in the game than total runs in the NLCS Game 5. That's 2 points for me, 2-1. Bo, you had the game will be tied either at halftime or at the end of the third quarter. It was 15 seconds away from being tied at 17, but then the A.J. Brown touchdown happened, so you did not get that. I had Jeffrey Lurie and or Howie Roseman will be shown on the broadcast wearing some sort of Kelly Green. Didn't happen, but shout out to Tina Lurie, who was wearing a Kelly Green sweater, which
shout
they showed
out to Tina
next to Jeffrey Lurie. So that
you should have included Tina. In
I should have, but in retrospect, a mistake by me. You threw your I threw my golden goose on Tyreek Hill leads the game in receiving yards, which gave you A.J. Brown leads the game in receiving yards. So we both boned our golden gooses.
I would have chosen a different verb, but okay.
So you go up 3-2. I had the Eagles have 3.5 sacks. That hit. You had there are at least 2 50-plus yard touchdowns in the game, tied 3-3. You had Tua completes fewer than 65% of his passes, which gave me Jalen Hurts, which did not happen. He completed just over 70, which gave me Jalen Hurts passes for more yards than Tua. That hit, 4-3 me. I took the Eagles' red zone touchdown percentage in this game. No, this is you picking, not me picking. I gave it. You took ZB's first post-game show appearance will be more minutes to or from midnight than Jalen Hurts' rushing yards. Do you know what time you came on?
I don't. I was in a frantic pace. And
It was around, you were very close to midnight. It was about 12:15-ish area. Jalen Hurts only ran for 21 yards, so you didn't get it. Whereas I did. The Eagles' red zone touchdown percentage in this game will be greater than the Phillies' win percentage in the NLCS. The Eagles were 4 for 6 from the red zone. At best, the Phillies will be 4 for 7, so I took that down. That gives me the lead, and then neither of us got footage of Ron Jaworski nor Jerome Brown on the broadcast, which gives me the win. I'm up 5-1.
Had a tough year so far, but good thing is it's a long season.
It's a long
Eagles
season.
Are
It's
gonna
getting
be
late early. But
Eagles are going to be in the postseason. I'm going to have a chance to add to my total. So this is going to be a comeback. This is going to be I'll be like the Texas Rangers.
there you go. And then finally, Bree, do you want to flash up those roster graphics, if you don't mind? Let's see here. I think both quarterbacks played okay, not great.
I thought Jalen played better than Tua, but okay.
I don't know if I agree with that. I actually thought Tua played pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, Jalen had 2 ugly turnovers.
That's true.
Let's see. I've got AJ Brown. You've got Tyreek Hill. You did get Devontae playing. Waddle goes down. You had Goddard. I don't know what you got from Julio Jones.
I got 2 catch, or I got an 8 catch.
You got 8 catch for 3 yards.
Isaiah Wynn got hurt early. Lane Johnson played. Jason
I don't know.
Kelce.
I've got Jalen Carter and Josh Sweat, who made big impacts. You've got Reddick. I've got Slay, who had the pick.
Joan Phillips had a sack as well.
You have Xavier Howard, who didn't play. Reed Blankenship, who didn't play. I gotta say, I think this is me again.
Oh no, I think this is me here.
Make your case.
Make my case. Okay, I think my offensive line is better than your offensive line. Connor Williams didn't play.
True.
Okay, so you don't have that. I thought that Dallas Goedert scored a touchdown, had a good game in that regard. Hassan Reddick was huge against the run here. Jalen Phillips had a sack. So yeah, if anything, I'd say it's a draw. But I would give myself.
I mean, the impact players in this game were Josh Sweat, Jalen Carter, Hassan Reddick, who you have, and Darius Slay on the Eagles defense. So that's 3 out of the 4 for me. On offense, AJ Brown is the big player, and
Dallas Goedert.
Okay, that's fine. Now you've got a little bit of an edge on the offensive line, but I don't think it. Isaiah Wynn, you've got lining up. My guy just ran over him and knocked him out of the game.
I'm 4 for 4 on tush pushes. or brotherly shoves.
What do you think Baldy's opinion on the tush push is?
We need to ask him that next week.
Ask him that next week.
The one thing I'll say is this is the last time we're doing the draft like this. When we reconvene on Thursday.
Reconvene on Thursday. We're going to do position units.
Yes.
Instead of individual players. It's going to make things go a little quicker, maybe a little bit easier to adjudicate. And I think it's fair to say that another week, another win.
I don't think that's fair to say at all. But you know what? If there's any winnings that come with this, you can spend it on a new wardrobe. Maybe at PHLY Locker, right? We got some good stuff on there.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. I don't know. I'm still undecided as to whether I need to come like less dressed up or not moving forward. I'll have to sleep on that.
While you're sleeping on that, the Eagles return to practice tomorrow, but they're not having a full practice. They're back in they're doing another week with walkthroughs. Certainly worked last week. Sirianni likes the walkthroughs. He joked that the walkthroughs also mean that the media doesn't get to go watch them practice. So the first time we will see them practice will be Thursday. But I imagine Kevin Byard's going to be in town tomorrow. We'll get Nick Sirianni's reaction to that. We'll speak to Kevin Byard. I'll try to find out where he went to middle school. Report that back on Thursday.
See if he remembers the phone numbers of the girls he would try to call.
We will see. I won't ask him that. That'd be a creepy thing for me to ask him.
That's a bridge too far.
Yeah, that would be a bridge too far. Plus, I was born in 86. He was born in 94. So by that point, I don't know if they were calling home numbers at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot that happened in those 8 years in between, like the cell phones and
okay, Boomer.
No, I mean, I think someone born in 1994 probably doesn't remember many phone numbers because you just put it in cell phones. Am I right, Bree? Yeah, Bree nodded.
Okay, she nodded.
Yeah. Whereas someone who was born in 1986 would know phone numbers because you had to dial the numbers.
I understand your point. I also don't think that everybody born in 1986 remembers all the phone numbers of the girls they called in middle school. I think that might be a bit more of a specific condition to you.
Okay. We'll save that for another day. Also, at practice, the injury report, it's going to be an approximation tomorrow. We'll see the status of Reed Blankenship. That's going to be important to watch. I don't know if Bradley Roby's going to be back. But we'll certainly pay attention to some of the different things they'll do. And then the Eagles have a roster crunch here. At some point, I imagine they're going to have to bring up Julio Jones. So, I mean...
And some questions about Cam Jurgens as well. What's your expectation there?
Oh, that's a good point. He is out of his walking boot. I can tell you that. I will find out more. He
has to be down at least one more week.
Yep. But I will find out more on that one. That's a good question.
All right. Well, there you go. That'll wrap it up for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. We are back Thursday promptly at 11:30 a.m. and then Friday at 2 p.m. We look forward to talking to you. And we thank you for watching, for listening, and good luck tonight to all you Phillies fans. Try to stay hydrated, try to stay calm, and hopefully celebrate. You feel good? What's your prediction?
I think the Phillies win. I think Ranger goes 5 strong. I think the Phillies get some, 5 strong. I think the Phillies get on the Diamondbacks early, and the Phillies play with an advantage. I think the Phillies win.
All right, and there you go. From Mr. Fashion himself, you've got the prediction. So we will talk to you on Thursday for Zach and all of his stylists and Bree. I'm Bo. We thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you on Thursday. And as always, we love you.
We all silly.